Yo, what's going on, everybody? Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is the Black Mountain Critic here, and we're doing an impromptu, all right, impromptu stream, all right, rambling stream. I keep wanting to do Alita, but I just know that it'll take me too long to stream Alita. I always end up reading more than I should. Um, like today, like tomorrow's gonna be pretty busy, and I'm gonna have to go to bed soon, and so I can't do it right now. Or maybe I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I will after this stream. Like this stream shouldn't be particularly long. It's definitely not going to be like an hour or an hour and 15 minutes or anything like that. Anyways, so this one is going to be about Twitter and I think social media in general, but mainly Twitter and I guess YouTube too. But I think Twitter in particular because that's the platform that I use the most out of sort of like Snapchat, Instagram, and all those other things that exist. I don't really use any of those other ones. Like the only ones that I'm really sort of on are YouTube and Twitter, and that's about it. Like I'm not really on anything else, and maybe like Curious Cat and stuff like that. But much lesser than. I'm on that like way less frequently. So, all right. So we're gonna start with this. And I think for me, like one thing I hope that this video does is sort of allow folks to kind of understand where I'm coming from in terms of sort of how I move on Twitter and how I move on YouTube and where like my mindset is when I say certain things, when I post certain things, what's sort of the point and all of that. Because I think some people know, like people that I talk to, they kind of know where I'm coming from and all of that, and then there are just I think a lot of folks that maybe don't. And I would say in terms of that, I would say let's say like if you're looking at my Twitter page, right, or my YouTube page, like I have videos that pretty clear in terms of how I feel about certain things. In terms of like certain right, when it comes to certain topics like sexuality, gender, race, anime, manga, that sort of thing, right? Like all that stuff, those different conversations that are being had. So there, I have all that stuff on my YouTube channel, and people can find that. I think what I'm gonna do is again, I'm still looking through my videos and just trying to sort of put that all of that in one place. And those are all gonna be like different sort of like ramblings that I have. They're gonna be labeled as ramblings. Anyways, on YouTube I have those videos. On Twitter, it's much more so like I think folks like if you see my pinned tweet, like my pinned tweet is pretty. It makes it pretty clear like where I stand on things for the most part, in a general sense. And if you're someone that doesn't believe in that, you probably should not follow me. Like it just isn't making much sense to me. Like I don't go around I just don't go around like following folks who have things in their in their bios or in their pinned tweets or whatever that are just like garbage. I don't do that. You know what I mean? I don't do that. So I don't understand. I don't really get why people do that. Anyways, that pinned tweet should let you know like where I stand. It should let you know where I stand. And if you want to come through my page and say some nonsense or be bigoted or be racist or homophobic or transphobic, ableist, fatphobic, all these different things, right? If you want to be all these different things, you go kick rocks. Like this is not really like I don't have the time to deal with that nonsense. I just don't. So I tend not to waste my time dealing with it. All right. Also, I think it's just it's very important that people make sure that they also are not wasting their time with those bigoted folks, with those folks who are just awful in all these different ways. It's like it quite literally is a time suck, right? Like so today I was like, you know what, I'm gonna tweet something. I said, or I'm gonna respond to this tweet that I generally agreed with, and then somebody had responded to a tweet that I put out, in some like annoying way, and this is someone who I don't follow, but someone who followed me, and I have no idea why. Like I don't get it. I don't understand why people follow folks that they probably aren't vibing with or they don't necessarily like in any sort of way. So I was like, I want to block this person. Like, and this was just a decision that, I'd been mulling over. I was like, should I just leave this person alone to just float in the ether, or should I just block them and not have to deal with them ever again and that sort of thing? And I was like, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. And I think for me, so this is the first thing I'm sort of going to go into, I think, when it comes to kind of Twitter and how I sort of navigate Twitter and social media and stuff like, and YouTube and stuff like that. At this point, for me, it's very important that if I see someone, or if I interact with someone and that interaction is not, it doesn't make me feel good, like in a particular way. And when I say that, I don't mean like, oh, I saw a certain, like, maybe like I saw like an image and I didn't feel a certain way or whatever, and I was like, like, it depends on what it is. I'm not necessarily gonna block that person or mute that person or anything like that, but I'm just gonna be like, this tweet kind of was weird for whatever reason. But if it's stuff that's like offensive, certain things like that, then at this point I'm just like, I'm either like, I'm probably gonna block you. I'm probably gonna block you. And that's kind of where I am with it right now. Like, this took a while for me. At one point I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna mute folks. And I think that's an option for people. Like, if you just want to mute someone, maybe, that's someone that, share certain things that maybe you're not into. Let's say maybe someone shares, sexually, like certain, like, manga or anime or things that are more sexually charged, and that's not something that you're necessarily comfortable with in that sort of public way. Then maybe you mute that person for whatever reason, and that's what you do, and that's it. And like, and that's just like that, and that's something that's particularly different. Right? Like, if someone likes to read like smut, I'm not gonna like block that person because they like to read smut. Like, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like that, no. But let's say if that's something I'm like, then maybe I might mute that person, or for whatever reasons, and then at somewhere down the line I might unmute that person. But either way, I think for me, like, there were things where I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here, and I'll deal with it in that way. And then there are things that, like, as I've said, like offensive, like when you're offensive and bigoted and all these different, and you're phobic, you're phobic in all these different ways, you getting blocked. And that's how I am at this point. Like, I think I have to be very clear and very upfront, and honest about how I feel about, people that do certain things on this platform, and that do things that make me extremely uncomfortable because they're offensive. Like, I don't have time for this. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm 31. I'm gonna be 32 next year. Like, I don't have time to be worrying about, oh, this person, I follow this person, and sometimes sometimes they'll do like weird sort of things, that might be that I think are offensive, and I might point them out and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't have time for that. I just don't. And I think the thing for me is, I get to do that. I get to just be like, this ain't working out. Bye. All right. I get to do that. Like, I get to guard my time. I get to guard my space. I get to guard my feelings, my mental health, all those things. So, like Michael, like, yo, shouts out to Michael. Shouts out to you. Like, right. Like, there was a trans activist that died today. And let me make sure I get the name correct, because I don't want to. I want to make sure I get it right, because like sometimes I'll like blurt out a name and then the name will be wrong, and I'm like, that was wrong. But I'm Julie Berman. Yeah, okay. So I had Julie, but I didn't have the last name correct. But right, so very important trans rights activist had passed away today in Toronto, and the thing with that is, like, this is pretty big for, and I'm not saying every trans person feels the same way about this trans activist, but it's like, this is something that's like a pretty, it's what we would call an epidemic, and honestly, I'd go so far as to say sort of like a pandemic, because I'm pretty sure that, like, the United States isn't the only place where trans folks are quite literally being murdered at absurd rates, right? Like, there should be like zero, like the number should be zero of trans folks who are murdered just for being a trans person, right? Like, that should be zero. But in this world is terrible, and there are terrible people in this world. And so that's not the case, but that doesn't mean that you don't fight for that stuff to stop, right? So for me, it's like that's something that's important to me, and that's something that's important to a lot of other folks that I follow, and that follow me. And so I think when I see folks who make like who make jokes on who make jokes about the trans community and about trans people, like, to me that's like that's a no, and I think I have to be really, really honest about like who I follow, where I feel like if I feel like growth is happening in a particular way, and if I feel like that's not happening, then I have to just be like, all right, this, it is what it is. I like, what am I gonna do? And then that's it, and then be done with it, and then move on and do my thing, right? And I think a lot of times people aren't, I think people aren't honest about that, and are very, and myself included, right, are very sort of like we'll sort of allow particular things to sort of, happen, and not distance not distance myself from those things. That's something that I really like, that I'm working on, and I want, and I really, and I got to be better about that. That's something that I think, like, for me, like on Twitter, like I can't just go around following folks who are transphobic, homophobic, say ridiculous things, do all that stuff. All right, so I have to like look through the people that I follow, the people that I don't follow. Make some decisions will be a lot tougher than others, but that's something that I have to do. Like sometimes I won't go through all the people that I follow, and I'll be like, oh, maybe this person's been following me for a long time. Let me just keep following them, but pay them no mind or whatever. But there are people I think that I follow that I need to just be like, yo, I'm getting them out of here. I'm not gonna follow them no more. I might have to block them. I might have to block them so that they just like are, ugh. You know what I mean? But at the same time, sometimes like you feel like you want to interact with a particular individual, but you also have to and that maybe blocking them is not the way to go. But you also have to understand that, again, you do not have to waste your time, your energy, and risk your mental health dealing with someone who clearly is like at a particular age, will most likely not change in the way, or at the very least, you won't be the person to change them. You won't be the person to teach them anything. So you just have to see yourself out. You just got to be like, all right, this person is clearly not changing. This person clearly believes in what they're going to believe in. You know what I mean? It's like folks are out here talking about, oh, Umar Johnson's amazing and Tariq Nasheed is amazing. And both of those dudes are trash. Charlamagne, they're talking about how Charlamagne is amazing. And all three of those dudes are trash. Folks are standing Joe Budden. Joe Budden is a piece of garbage. All right? Like... And these folks are not changing. Charlamagne ain't changing. Joe Budden ain't changing. Tariq Nasheed ain't changing. Umar Johnson's not changing. Like these are dudes who are very set in their ways on Twitter, on social media, and in their everyday lives. They're not gonna change. So it doesn't make much sense for me to interact with them in that way. But like in a sense of, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's have a dialogue. This is stuff like dialogue and thinking about dialectics and all those things. Those are things that I decide on, like in terms of people, in terms of interacting with people. Those are things that I decide to do if I feel like those people have shown me, right, or right, have shown a capacity for change, for growth, for listening and learning and all those different things. If I don't see none of that stuff, I'm not at this point. I'm not wasting my time. I'm not doing that. And I think a lot of people are very much like, oh, but this is a friend, and it's like, for me, there are people that I'm not friends with anymore, and I think like for a lot of reasons, like if I realize that someone was particularly homophobic or misogynistic or any of those things, we're not friends, and that's fine. I don't like that. All right, it's not a good thing. So, bye, see ya. Okay, and those decisions might be very difficult, right? Those are difficult decisions, and sometimes you will rethink them, and you'll be like, I don't know, maybe I was too harsh, blah blah blah. But ultimately, at the end of the day, for me, it's very important because it's like I have to make sure that the people that I'm following, the people, and the people that follow me, and all of the sort of work that I'm doing is progressive, is productive. And like progressive is kind of like a sort of catch-all term. I would say productive, right? It's productive in what I'm trying, what I'm trying to do. Okay, so yeah, I would say like in that sense, I would say just it's the decision might be hard at times, but you gotta just see folks, just see, kick folks out or see folks out if they're a little bit nicer about it. All right. When it comes to being on social media, being on Twitter, whatever social media platform you use to do the work that you need to do in the way that you feel like you can do it at any given point in time. Whatever platform you're using, keep doing that work if you feel like, and if others feel like the work that you're doing is productive and is making and makes those platforms safer, kinder, warmer, all those different words, right? So if you feel like the work that you're doing is doing that, then keep doing that. What I will also say is that when folks, sort of go around talking about, oh well, I'm tired of all this stuff that happens on, social media, in the world around me. Too many people are way too sensitive. Blah 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 blah. What you will often find is that many of those comments, right? Many of those comments that are made are from people who are not doing a single damn thing to make anything better outside of their own maybe immediate family. And there are and obviously there are sort of like reasons for that. But what I will say is that if you feel like, okay, there are always different reasons for why you feel like you can only do so much. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about if you if you have a certain amount, like, you should be, doing like Angela Davis level activism or anything like that. No, nobody's saying that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that there are folks who will complain about people who are doing said work, but are not doing a single thing to help anybody outside of their immediate family. And to those people, I would say, why is your voice necessary at all? Why are you talking? Why do you feel like saying, complaining about people who are trying to make the world and the spaces that they exist in better and safer for people for marginalized groups, right? For oppressed groups. Why do you feel like your complaints mean a damn thing? This is the thing that's so baffling to me. It's like, I'll be on Twitter, folks be like, yo, people complain too much, man. I don't understand it. I'm like, yo, you ain't doing nothing though. You're not doing a single thing to make it to make things easier for oppressed groups, for marginalized groups in the ways that you need to. You're not doing nothing. But then you have the audacity, you have the like actual nerve to be like, oh man, these folks are doing too much. No, you don't get to do that. You don't get to say that. You just stay over there. If that's what you want to do in your little circle, your little hole, wherever it is that you are. If that's what you want to do under your little rock, whatever. If that's what you want to do, go do that over there. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually baffling to me. It's baffling to me. I'll see my friends trying to put in the work in the ways that they see fit at the time, at a particular point in time. You know what I mean? And people that I know, people that I know on Twitter who are doing important work, right? And folks want to bug them about, oh, you're doing way too much. Why are you so loud? You gotta chill. You gotta relax. It's not even that serious. Stop talking. Right? And again, and also, some of these folks are not even particularly informed. They're not even particularly informed about the things, about the topics that they're complaining about. They're not even particularly informed about that. It's like, again, and I've said this a bunch of times. I've said this a bunch of times. But when folks have the nerve to have a conversation about, like, right, like folks will have the nerve to have a conversation about, about sexuality or gender or homophobia or transphobia, and let's say if they, and that's in general, right, and not know much about what they're talking about, but profess as if they got a doctorate in gender studies or something like that, or women's studies or whatever, and it's like, what? No, I know damn sure that didn't happen for you. I know damn sure that didn't happen for you. So what are you talking about? Right? Where is this confidence coming from? Where is this confidence coming from? Where you feel like you could just be like, yo, hey, this is what it is. I mean, I know where my confidence comes from. I know exactly where my confidence comes from. It comes from copious amounts of conversations, copious amounts of reading, and analysis, and grappling with the text that I'm reading, and the interviews that and the videos that I watch, and the podcasts that I listen to, and all these different things, like, and over a number of years. But again, like, a lot of these folks are not doing even a modicum of that work. They're not doing any of that. But again, they have the nerve to come out here talking about, well, this is what transphobia is. This is what homophobia is. This is how this is. I looked it up on Google. This is a definition. I'm like, what are you doing? Again, confident. Dudes be coming out here confident in what they're saying, but have no ting, all right, to back it up. Nothing. All right? They haven't read the text. They haven't done any of that work in the ways that they need to do. Okay? But again, the confidence is there. And they will come on social media and they will say certain things, and they will be loud and wrong. And for me, I'm just over it. Like, I've been over it for quite some time, but at this point I'm just like, yo. And it's even harder to have those types of discussions, right, about anime and manga. It's way difficult. Anime Feminist is one of the best websites out there, and one of the best organizations out there in terms of talking about these topics as they are presented within manga. You know what I mean? So, but folks will come at them like, oh, y'all doing too much. Anime Feminist is trash, blah, 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 blah. But again, folks on Anime Feminist are people who are writers who are doing that work, reading what they need to, reading what they need to read, having those conversations, all right, doing the research, all right. Anime Feminist isn't just put up a article onto their website and it's just like, yeah, this is garbage and this is, deeply bigoted, but, sure, let's pay you and put it on our website. That's not what they do. You know what I mean? So it's like, again, folks have the unmitigated gall to come out here and talk about, this is how I feel about this particular topic, and these are the facts, and this is what it is. But again, have just no base. All right? And again, you can also be reading like garbage text, right? You could still try to do some of that work and just read garbage text and garbage videos and all sorts of things on those particular topics, right? Like you can watch videos just crapping on feminism as sort of like as an ideology, right? And in that sense, but not really know much about feminism or feminist theory, or how discussions about feminist theory occur, and what those conversations look like, and the difference between, right, types of feminism and the evolution of feminism, and what intersectional feminism is, and what white feminism is, and all those different types of things, and how what you'll often see on Twitter is how women will hold each other accountable all the time. So again, like folks will come out to me talking about, well, feminists just, don't even, all women are amazing and they're perfect and blah, blah, blah. And it's like that whenever I hear stuff like that, it's always clear to me that that person has not read any feminist criticism or anything like that. And the thing is, like, folks come to me and be like, I don't have to read any of that stuff, any of that criticism or any of that stuff. And I'm like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You actually do have to. Otherwise, you don't know what you're talking about. You quite literally do not know what you were talking about. Like, you cannot come across as someone who is aware of what folks have said, what folks have said from a feminist critical perspective, and then be like, I don't have to read that stuff. Nah, that's not how it works, yo. That's not how it works. Right? You can't be critical of a Barbara Christian or an Angela Davis or a Kimberly Crenshaw or even a Judith Butler, right? Or folks like that, or Betty Friedman or Simone de Beauvoir, like de Beauvoir, like. You can't be critical of those folks if you haven't even read the stuff that they presented, that they've written. Like, what are you talking about? This is the stuff that gets on my nerves. Like, people, I would just utter these names out, and it's like, again, it's not to say that, like, oh, you have to be aware of all these folks to have anything to say necessarily, but it's like, you cannot be critical of feminism in a general sense and not have even read anything about it or had conversations with folks who are pretty aware of what different feminisms look like. Like, it makes zero sense. It's like, again, these same folks would be like, yo, man, folks reading the wiki out here, they'll be livid. They'll be so livid about folks who are reading the One Piece wiki and right, to catch up to the manga, right? But right, they can't show a shred of energy, right? They can't spare a shred of energy, all right, to go out and read some of this stuff. They can't even be bothered to do that, right? But they will have the same energy in bashing of feminism, bashing intersectional feminism, without even having a clue as to what that is or what that looks like or what the purpose of an intersectional feminism is, right? Or what those frameworks look like in different ways. You know what I mean? So it's just stuff like that is just, again, it's baffling. And I will say these things and people will just be like, here go BMC talking too much again. But again, deep down, I think these folks know that they don't know what they're talking about, that they are woefully unprepared for those conversations, right? But they will just continue to be loud and wrong because that's what they know how to do, right? They know how to be loud, right? It's very easy to be loud, and it's very easy to be loud and wrong at the same time. You can just say things, not think, right? Critically, and go on with your day, and you'll be loud and wrong, no problem, right? So again, it's just like folks got to do the reading. They got to look into things. They have to be aware of certain things. All right, right? I don't go around throwing out, copious tweets about my opinions on Japanese politics, on Japanese politics, because that's not something that I'm well versed in. Right? I don't go around doing that. But there are things that I know well enough about in a general sense in terms of gender, sexuality, race, these things, ethnic studies, all these different things, right? Where if someone from a different country is presenting their case for why a particular thing that happens in their country is an issue, then I'm going to support that person. Obviously, I'm going to have discussions with that person and all those different things. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to support that person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, it's not like I think about things. I think critically about things. So that's the reason why, again, if you're on Twitter, it would behoove you to support folks who are trying to do this type of work on Twitter. And again, when you see, when you see people when you see people on Twitter trying to do a lot of this, social sort of like work, it's important to make sure you say, okay, what's going on here? What are these people tweeting? What are these people linking? Are these things that make a lot of sense in a way that you rock with? And when I say that you rock with, I mean in a way, in the sense that you've done a lot of this work, and you recognize that this person has also done a lot of a particular kind of work, and in that way you vibe in that way, in a way that is productive for making spaces safer and not toxic. Right, so no one's saying just follow someone and just be blindly do that and whatever. Nobody's saying that. I don't do that. I don't just blindly follow folks. I make sure I'm at this point I'm I do that, and again, it's not because I don't know anything about the things that I'm invested in. It's because it's clear that I know I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about, and I continue to do that work and that reading. And the person that I decided to follow, I feel like that person is also doing that work, and that's something that I could have a conversation with and figure things out with. And those are people that I support, vehemently. So it's that's why when folks are out here just being loud and wrong, right? And it doesn't matter who it is. If you're loud and wrong, myself, I've been called out. If I said something, I remember, the chicken noodle thing, the chicken noodle soup thing that happened with the K-pop artist, and I had said something, and I didn't do my due diligence, and folks are like, that's not it. You know what I mean? And of course, I have my own opinions about K-pop in general and music in general. It's not just K-pop, but music in general and the appropriation of a particular aesthetic, a musical sort of aesthetic, and all those things. But when it came to that particular situation, that was something that I wasn't doing a great job on. And so I had to apologize, and to come out and say, okay, I'm going to do better. I'm going to look into these things. And that's something that I'm constantly sort of doing. So I always make sure that at this point I'm okay, what's going on? If someone tweeted something, what's happening? So I try not to tweet. So now at this point so something that I've worked on is saying, okay, I don't have to tweet every single thing that I see, but if I feel like something is particularly important, then I'm gonna be like, yo, y'all should be aware of what's going on here and all these different types of things. But what I also try to make sure of is that if I know that if I say something that certain people will respond in a particular way, then there's something that I just might not say at all. If it's something that's not particularly important, then I can talk about it with people in different ways. And I can engage with a particular tweet without having to sort of retweet it and have folks that see that I've retweeted something, just awful people, comment on that or say something terrible or whatever. So it is what it is on that. But I think that's sort of the biggest sort of thing. When it comes to Twitter in particular, you have to be very careful about how you spend your time on it, whether or not following people or following people in certain ways is right for you. And when I say following people, I mean do you decide to mute someone for a particular reason or not? If you feel like that's something that you should do. Do you feel like, okay, maybe I shouldn't follow this person anymore, but I should actually block this person? Or do you just, or if you see someone follow you and that person is clearly a bigot and clearly awful, should you just block that person straight up? Right? And those are things that you have to figure out and grapple with, and all those different types of things. And I think that's something that people should do much more of, myself included. So that's something that I'm working on right now because like I have a really hard time blocking people. But right now I'm trying to be a lot better about just being like, whoop, I'm gonna block you. You annoy me. You make me very uncomfortable. In a way that is particularly offensive. I'm gonna block you. That's where I'm at with it right now. You know what I mean? There are people I'm just gonna block, and you know that's just how I'm gonna rock with it, and it is what it is. All right. The last thing I guess I sort of want to talk about is, you know, and again, this is rambling, so it's not, you know, it's just like, okay, I have stuff on my mind, and I'll kind of want to throw it out there. I think at some point the ramblings will probably get more, you know, neat, but it's rambling, so it's not necessarily supposed to be neat. All right. But the last thing I kind of want to talk about is like how important it is to follow people that you really mess with, like people that will support you and you will support, and a network that is particularly strong. And for me, I'll say this: I have certain people that I follow on Twitter, and this is quite a few people, but this is like quite a few people that I follow on Twitter that like I just adore. Like these people, man, like yo, like these people are awesome, you know, and they've consistently shown that they are just really great and nice and awesome to talk to and to have conversations with and to think about things with. You know, two people in the chat right now are here, Michael, Justine. You know, so I mean, like for me, those people know who they are because I talk with them all the time. Like if I don't mess with you, like I will not talk to you at all. Or right, like if you like talk to me often and I don't respond to you, I'm probably not my, you know what I mean? But I just have to be better about being like, yeah, this ain't working. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But I have this, like a core sort of group of people that I talk to all the time, and they're so great. Like they're like I'm like I would say we're pretty close, and we talk with each other all the time, and we, you know, and it's not just that we see that we agree on every single thing in this entire world. It's nothing like that, because I don't think there are people like that who would like exist, right? Like there aren't groups like that exist, I don't think, unless it's like cults or something, and even then that's like a whole nother dumpster fire to deal with there. But like these are people that, you know, we talk to each other about certain things all the time. It's super dope. The convos are awesome. We feel like we can come to each other when other people are being terrible. All right. So it's just like, you know, you have to have a network. You have to have people that you can talk to. Not just on Twitter, like on your timeline or whatever it is that you call it, right? Not just that, but like, you know, if you have a Twitter chat with folks that you talk to all the time, that you consider to be good friends of yours, it's good to have that. It's good to have that space, that sort of private space, if you will, right? Because nothing's ever really private, but it's good to have that sort of private kind of space to talk to people about different things. All right. Whether that be a Twitter chat, whether that be a Discord, private Discord, whatever it is, all right, it's awesome to have that, and it's okay to have those spaces. And a lot of people, you know, will sort of make you feel like, oh, you're a coward, and you know, why don't you, what's the word I'm looking for? Why don't you confront people? Why don't you stand behind stuff like that? You know, and they'll say like corny things like that because that's what they learned in high school, right? Or that's what they learned in like freshman year of college, because they still didn't get out of that high school mindset. And so they'll throw that stuff out all the time, and you just have to be like, whatever, none of that stuff matters. All right. So I mean, I think that's the thing for me, where it's like I'm a very sort of like large proponent of having a core group of friends that you talk to all the time, and growing that group and growing that circle, because it helps when the bums and the troll, like, you know, when the trolls come through. All right, like not nice trolls. There are nice trolls in literature. We know this, right? But like when the jerks come through, it really helps. It's really nice to have a support group. It's really nice to have folks that will come through and be like, no. You know what I mean? And I'm saying people would be like, oh, you know, you have an echo chamber or blah 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 whatever, and it's like, one, how do you know what sorts of conversations people are having? You know, like certain like people are having with, you know, in private or that sort of thing, right? When it comes to certain topics, and that's what I'll say about that. You don't. Right, so that's why for me, I don't go out of my way to be like, oh, this person's in an echo chamber, that they're in an echo chamber. You know, for me, it's more like, okay, I think there are things that aren't being discussed in a particular space that do need to be discussed. I think that's much more particular, right? One thing that I learned from that, well, oh yeah, I would say yeah, one thing that I learned just pretty recently is just like, you know, and that's something that I've always thought about, but I think even more so, like it's made more clear to me. There is a person on Twitter, Riken, I guess is how you pronounce that. But they're on Twitter, and you know, and they're great, you know, and I learned so much from them. And one thing that I learned from them was this idea of, you know, making sure that when you use a particular term, why are you using that term? Why are you saying it in that particular way? So when I say echo, so if I said echo chamber, that'd be a very particular thing that I want to put forth. But if it's just, you know, saying that, hey, these things aren't being discussed, that's much more specific, and that's something that actively bothers me. And that's why whenever I have certain streams and I have people on and I want to talk about things, I always make sure that we bring up things that normally would not be brought up. If you watch, and I'm going to be really clear about here, right? If you go on Twitter, all right, you go to certain circles of Twitter, you go to certain circles of YouTube, all right, certain community, right? And when it comes to the anime and manga communities, right? And you go there, folks will never utter a single word about how women are treated like garbage for more than 3 minutes, right? It won't happen. It won't happen, right? It won't happen in the way that it needs to. And for me, I'm like, y'all not gonna cover what you need to cover in terms of that topic in 3 minutes. That's not gonna, no. So for me, it like I make sure that that's something that that does get brought up, and if it does get brought up, that we take that we take the amount of time that is necessary to talk about it for that given conversation, right? And that doesn't mean that we only have that one conversation and then that's it. It's like it's right. It's quite a few conversations, and you know, there's constant conversations. Excuse me. It's constant conversations. So that's stuff that you have to be very aware of in your own communities. It's like, what are folks talking about over here? What is brought up and what isn't brought up? So for me, it's like, you know, one thing that's really important, and one reason why I you know, cherish the, you know, social network that I'm a part of is that, you know, different things are brought up all the time when it comes to anime, manga, all those types of things. When I'm on Twitter, one thing that I love to see is that folks are actively not only just enjoying themselves and trying to make sure that they have a good time on social media, on their social media platforms, and making sure that those spaces are safe for oppressed and marginalized groups, right? But that those things are done in particularly different ways. And one thing I think that's really neat is so Anime Feminist put out you know, their I guess like yearly, their annual article for, you know, their list of what they felt like were, you know, the top sort of top different type, you know, top animes of the decade, right, or of the year, and that sort of thing. And it wasn't just like, okay, this is the top one of the decade, and that's it. It was more like, you know, what's the top sort of comedic anime? What's the top blah 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 anime? And what's great about what they did and what other outlets, what some other outlets often do, is that they will, and to me it's very clear, they will make sure that the anime and manga right, like that are not presented or presented and put into the spotlight in the way that they should be, are put into the spotlight, right? So like if you look at their list, you're not gonna see a My Hero. You're not gonna see, certain extremely. You're not gonna see a Mob Psycho. Like right, you're not gonna see certain things that are extremely popular, right? A One Punch Man, whatever. You're not gonna see those things, because one, they already they take up more than enough space, discourse space. They take up way more than enough of that space, right? So it's not necessary to it's not necessary to put them on the list, nor do these folks necessarily believe that these things need to be on their said list, and that's totally fine. And that's something that I see often, and I think it's so great. Like that's such a great thing that happens. And I've seen that on other lists too, right? I've seen that on other websites. When it comes to comics and the comics and the top comics of a decade or top comics of the year, and those lists will try to make sure that they don't stick to like that. Like I saw one list and that list, I can't remember the list exactly, but the list did not have Saga on it, and that was fine because Saga gets so much love. It's like it's ridiculous, and that, right? It's not to say like I'm telling folks not to read Saga or they're telling folks not to read Saga. They're just saying, yo, look at all these other texts that are doing such a great job, that are out here that we want to give love to. Shout out to the indie comics. Shout out to these comics from these publishers and right and that are great, and from these authors and from these artists and from these inkers and letterers and all these different things that are just so wonderful, and you want to give them that shine, and social media is an awesome way to do that. So for me, it's like social media is a place where I see people do that. I see people do that all the time, and I love it, and I want to see more of that. And I think one thing that I want to do in my sense, and one thing that I'm always thinking about is making sure that I'm pushing different things, that I'm pushing Chihaya Furu, that I'm pushing Spy Family, that I'm pushing, the Poe Clan, or Otherworld Barbara, or whatever, you know what I mean, or On a Sunbeam, and different titles, like titles that I feel like are really cool and just dope, and are different and are not things that are talked about all the time, right? Black Hammer, right? Like certain things that are talked that I think should be pushed, but oftentimes people in certain circles don't, because they're so stuck in reading the same things and thinking that these particular manga are just the best because they're popular, and that's not really how that works. So I think, again, when it comes to Twitter, and I'm gonna end things sort of here, it's even that, having those those platforms are important, and because you get to see right when it comes to certain things, it's nice to see them represent, right, when it comes to certain groups, and it's nice to see those groups represented through the stories that these organizations are presenting as great stories. And even that, that's work. That's the type of work that folks want to see. So again, kind of going back to a point I made earlier, having those social networks that are made up of people that you're really close with, that are great, that you support, and who support you, but also organizations that you feel do awesome work, like RAINN, right, and their work when it comes to sexual harassment and abuse, and that's an organization that right obviously does do a ton of work and a ton of important work when it comes to protecting women and creating safe spaces for women, but also for other groups. It's not that they don't ignore other groups, they do that work for other groups too. So for me, it's yeah, definitely have that, but also make sure that when you see folks who aren't even doing anything, they're not even trying, they're not even doing nothing. They complaining about all these different things, about how people are just doing too much. Those people usually are not very well informed at all. All right, they're not very well informed at all, and they should be more informed. They really should be. and they're not, you know. And okay, this is the last thing that I will say. You like this is probably the most important thing. Not the most important thing, but it's pretty important. You do not have to engage with people in some sort of debate or anything like that if you do not want to. You don't got to do that. You don't got to do that. Especially if you've done right. Especially if you've like you've done all the work. Like you've done work. Like you've read, you've researched, you've had you had the conversations right consistently, and that's ongoing. You do not have to do that. It's not something that's necessary because it will be a time suck. People want to do that to you on purpose. They want to waste your time, even though they know, right? Those people know that they will not agree with what you believe in, right? And what you right and what is true. They will not agree with you. They're already dead set on that, but they are going to waste your time just tweeting nonsense, tweet after nonsense tweet, and they will do that. And that's something that I've learned. Like that's why I had to block someone today because I was like, it's just nonsense. I was like, what am I talking to this person? This person's like quite literally a waste of my time. Like this person's wasting my time. I'm on Twitter responding at all in this tweet, right? There are folks that I don't even bother responding to. I just retweet. I'm like, this is garbage, or you know, I give them the Anya heh, and then we out of here. All right, but you do not have to respond to every single person that says something ridiculous, because you know, or even if someone asks you a question like, "Why do you believe that this thing isn't?" You don't gotta respond to that, because there are a lot of people who will present that like they will respond to you with that sort of question, and then the conversation will just. And again, those people are not looking to be convinced. They're just looking to see what you have to say so that they can just talk and talk and talk about why they feel like their, you know, bigoted or, you know, uninformed opinions are right. Right? So you have to be very, you have to work on, if you know, so you always have to sort of make sure that you're vigilant and work on catching those people before they waste your time, right? So that's how I feel about it, because like that's happened to me in the past where I just like will go into you know, and someone will waste their time, and that person was not going to change, right? So you know, and again, I'm not saying that you just like don't engage with anybody or anything like that, right? That's up to you if that's a decision that you want to make. But I think that after a certain amount of time on Twitter, I've learned that some people, again, they're not looking to be convinced of something. They're not looking to change their mind about a particular bigoted opinion, and you don't gotta waste your time with that with those folks. You really do not. You really do not. And even if they present themselves as, I'm just trying to have a conversation. Nope, not interested. We're not in, like, folks don't have to have a conversation with you. They can continue to do the work that they need to do to make spaces safer and warmer and kinder, right, for marginalized and oppressed groups. And you know, that's it. We don't gotta talk to y'all. We don't gotta talk to y'all like that. We don't have to have a conversation like that. All right? Some people just believe that, they are just owed a convo. They're just owed a conversation. They're owed a discussion. No, you're not. No, you're not. And it's a very difficult thing for mostly men, to grasp. Mostly men to grasp. That, right? And when I say men, I mean in particular cishet men, right? Like, it's very difficult for cishet men and cis men as well to grasp this idea of, I'm not owed this conversation. I'm not owed a response or anything like that. Not. Right? So, so if I throw out a question on Twitter, I'm not owed a response to that question. Like, nobody could answer that question. And I just have to be like, nobody wanted to answer that question. All right? And that is, and it is what it is. Okay? So yeah. All right, so I'm gonna stop there because I didn't, like I said, I wanted it to be super long, but it's rambling, so it always ends up being super long. But again, like, I think, like, last thing I'm gonna say to those folks who are always complaining about people doing too much on social media in their everyday lives, all those different things, stop talking. Just shut up. Right? You're not doing much. You're not doing much to make the spaces that you're in safer, kinder, warmer, all those different things when it comes to oppressed and marginalized groups. You're not doing that. Like, if you're just like, it is what it is. That's not helping nobody. You're just letting all the toxic stuff just fester and spread and grow. And there are people who would just be like, yo, I really do not feel safe here. And they will not say a single thing. And then folks will be coming to me and be like, yo, like, I don't really like these spaces, da 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 da. You know what I mean? It's like we gotta work on that. You have to do things. Like, you cannot have a space, right? And I'm talking about in your everyday life, on social media, whatever, right? And allow that stuff to happen. Like, it's just not it. It's not it. All right. If that means, making sure that, only certain, like, people who are like, respectful in very particular ways are allowed to, let's say, enter like a Discord of yours or something, then that's what you do. And you work with people who will make sure that that's like a thing. Right? Like, something that I would love to do in the future is open up a Discord. But for me, I've done that in the past, and like immediately it was just like someone hacked, and it's not even hacked, but like someone came in and started trolling and sending in this like these ridiculous messages, just like this, it was just like a racist troll, like he just came through and just like, oh, and it was disgusting. And I just got rid of it because I was like, this ain't it, So for me, that's why that's why for me, like, whatever it is that I do, when it comes to like talking with people on certain social media platforms, I do it privately because I don't have time for that. I really don't. All right, it was disgusting. It was very upsetting. Scared me a bit. All right, Sam scared me quite a bit, and I was like, I'm not dealing with that no more. Okay, so y'all got to deal with the stuff that y'all dealing with. This is why for me, like, I often don't go around in people's Discords unless I have to join a particular conversation or something like that, because the Discords themselves are just a place where like all these different toxic things are being said, and certain people have a certain set of opinions, and it's just I'm good. I like, the only time I'm in there is if I need to join a conversation or stream or whatever. Other than that, I'm good. I literally do not feel like I can say what I need to say without like 50 people coming on me talking about, saying some nonsense. So I'll avoid that stuff. I don't do that. All right. Yeah. So that's what it comes to, when it comes to on Twitter. And there are different ways in which you can do that work on social media. There are totally different ways that you can do that. There was a great article by Wear Your Voice Mag who talked about, social media activism, and how you can do that sort of work, and why oftentimes social media activism is necessary for folks who don't have the ability to do sort of like on the ground sort of work. All right. So I'm gonna stop here. I said a lot. All right, but again, this is it for me. Like again, I'm 31. I'm gonna be 32, and I'm gonna be 32 next September. This is stuff that that I'm working on, and that I'm gonna continue to work on. We always got to make sure that we're working to be better, that we're doing things, that we're not disingenuous in the work that we're doing. So for me, that means looking through my Twitter, making sure that, if I'm following people, or if people are following me, that I think these are people that are like, yo, they're on the level, like they're doing the thing, they're doing the work that I think like should be done. And if people aren't, then I gotta be like, yo, like, either, depending on who you are, like, then I'd have to have a conversation with you and be like, yo, this is how I feel, blah, 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 and then that's it. Or I'm just gonna unfollow you because we don't talk at all or whatever. And that's fine with me. It's not a big deal. So that's how I feel about it. I know, people are gonna, say what they're gonna say, but it is what it is. This is who I am. Y'all have known who I am for quite some time, since I started this channel. Honestly, since the beginning. And I'm gonna keep it moving. All right. You got to always talk about it, because folks, that's what folks want you to do. They want you to get off of Twitter. They want you to get off of YouTube. They want you to stop talking about these things. They want you to stop pushing for productive work and productive action. They want you to stop pushing for that. Because if you do, they get to do whatever nonsense they get to do that they've been able to do since, you know, the dawn of time. All right. So you got to keep pushing. All right. Because again, a lot of these folks very lazy when it comes to this stuff. Very lazy. All right. When it comes to certain things. So keep it moving. All right. All right. I got to get out of here. All right, it is 10:04. It's gonna be late. Probably gonna watch like a chess video or something. All right, Chess at the Coffee Chess. They were a great channel. Really dope chess games. Some funny chess games. All right, I just want to say that I'm not getting paid by them or nothing like that, but you know, it is what it is. All right, I gotta get out of here. All right, I gotta get out of here. All right, I gotta get some sleep. My cat is meowing. Mina, she's very cute, but she's also like, "Where's mommy?" All right. So I gotta get out of here. All right, y'all. Shouts out to the DJ in the chat. Shouts out to Justine. Shouts out to Michael. I have no idea who Aga Rocks is, but what's up? Let me get out of here. All right. I got things to do. All right. Rest in power, Julie Berman. Rest in peace, Julie Berman. Whichever one you prefer. All right. And I'm gonna keep working towards, productive action. Like that's what I want. That's what we're gonna do. All right, let me get out of here. Thank y'all for coming through. All right, I'm the Black Manga Critic. And I gotta get out of here. I'm out.